Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Saturday, August 11th, 2018. In both the Lynn life and the Jamie body mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are already living by the many rules given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And those rules, of course, include looking up to wiser minds above, asking up what now in order to accomplish something of value with regard to the soul plan, and then of course to do what wiser minds above say to do. And what we are noticing, somebody is really tapping on this point, what we are noticing in this last at least 2 days and more like a week or 2 weeks,
that's true,
is that there is an awful lot of resistance to actually looking at what's actually going on.
That's true.
And somebody's asking what we've noticed, and we know what they're referring to, and we've noticed that those in higher dimensions can hear what is occurring in these dimensions much more easily than they can see what's occurring in these dimensions. And it is much the same for the community working out of these host lives. It's much easier to hear what's going on upstairs than it is to see what's going on upstairs when our frame of reference is entirely wrong.
That's true.
But when we get the right frame of reference, things come into focus. We'll get the right idea, and oh my goodness, that is a Ra, or that's a Ulysses, or yes indeed, that's the wizard. Now I can see his lips moving. And if we have the wrong frame of reference, things just are hazy.
That's true.
Why do you ask? Somebody's tapping, and this is still about the same situation we've been observing this last several days, with the eyes jumping, not wanting to look at something, and so jerking to look away, to avert the gaze, or the eyelids literally closing, and how problematic this can be when we're doing things like driving.
That's true.
Or cutting things with knives.
That's true.
Cooking. There are things that we do as a part of regular life that are dangerous if attempted with closed eyes.
That's true.
For whom is the message? Why do you ask? And meanwhile, let's attempt to complete the turns to forward. Which way is forward? Somebody's talking about how the prevailing currents seem to be blowing everybody into the past.
That's true.
In general, in these dimensions that are within earshot.
That's true.
The prevailing currents seem to be blowing everybody to look backwards into the past. And when we're looking backwards, we're not able to see what's going on if we're looking multidimensionally.
That's true.
And actually, intradimensionally also, if we're looking backwards, we're not able to see what's going on in front of us.
That's true.
What now? What now? What now to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs? And now we can pump up refugees from the depths through wherever Pan is working, up through these host lives, up through the big, heavy, tangled channels of the visiting souls to the highest powers we can connect with right now, who really want to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs. Just pump up from the depths, from wherever Pan is working below, through these lives, through these bodies, through these soul channels, to the highest powers we can connect with right now, who really want to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs. And there's this straightening up feeling, like an untwisting feeling, and there are so many presences who do want to help, but aren't willing to buck the societies in which they themselves are living. And they're wanting to be a good person, but they're living inside of toxic societies in many, many, many dimensions.
That's true.
And they're not calling a spade,
Yeah.
so to speak, in their dimensions, and that is not a bigoted statement. That's
No,
an
that's true.
expression that came from ancient Greece, and it followed an earlier expression, which was to call a fig, meaning to call something what it is, to use appropriate labeling. And a spade is a humble implement for digging in the dirt, and
That's
so
true.
it became even more an expression of calling something by its true name, using accurate labeling. Calling a spade is something that's crucial in these times where things are falling apart rapidly, and the mislabeling seems to be accepted as a tactic of success.
That's true.
What now in order to call a spade a spade? Somebody says you have to give up caring what people think about you in order to call a spade a spade. And we think many of us would agree with that. You have
That's
to
true.
give up caring what our societies think about us. Because
That's true.
when the society is toxic, it is not going to approve of those who speak accurately. It
That's true.
isn't. And without speaking accurately, we are doomed. What now in order to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs? What now in order to help well-intentioned guardian angels call a spade a spade? Let's turn around and face forward.
Oh, that's really good.
Really face the disaster. We see how so many of us in so many dimensions are looking back to the last major disaster of our biosphere, whatever biosphere we're in.
That's true.
And in this biosphere, when we are looking backward and we think we're looking at a collapse, but it feels kind of like a decoy, it doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
And when we really notice carefully, we're looking at the collapse of Atlantis.
That's true.
Which was the most recent planetary civilization collapse for humans
That's true.
in Ground Zero, planet Earth. And when we're looking at collapse, and we think we're looking at collapse, but it doesn't have that take your breath away, rip your heart out emotional quality.
That's
And we
true.
really look, it's like, oh, well, there's that building I worked in when we were
That's
in
right.
Atlantis. And, oh, that's where I used to live, in Atlantis.
That's right.
We realize, oh, we're looking at the fall of Atlantis, which happened quite some time ago and
That's
is
true.
not a current pressing issue for us here.
That's true.
And then we can turn around 180 degrees, and there right in front of us, like nose pressed against it, is a disaster that makes Atlantis look like nothing, makes
That's
the
true.
fall of Atlantis look like nothing. What now to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs? What now to help well-intentioned guardian angels call a spade a spade? Pump up from wherever pan is working below, up through these spines, up to the highest power we can connect with right now, who really wants to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs. Now there's flow. There's
That's
good
really
flow.
true.
Maybe we just pump up the refugees right
Yeah.
now to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs. That seems to create updraft.
That's true.
But now to help well-intentioned
Guardian
guardian
angels
angels
do
do their
their
jobs. We're turning backwards again,
That's
even
true.
while we're pumping up, while all of this is happening, the currents are just rotating us backward.
That's true.
It's fascinating. Well, we can rotate back forward again and catch on to kind of like the hands of the disaster
That's true.
and hold the hands of the disaster. Like dancing with it, dancing with
Yes.
disaster.
Yes.
All right. Friends, it's time for us to stop playing games. It's really time for all of us to work together to mitigate the disaster that is facing all of us in all the dimensions that can hear this. It is upon us. It has begun. We have entered the collapse times. The biospheres are collapsing. There's no birds visible in this sky. It's not that
That's
there are
true.
no birds, but there should be flocks of birds, and there are no flocks of birds.
No.
And there are very few birds visible compared to what there should be. And the EPA just lifted restrictions on neonicotinoids.
That's true.
Which is the category of poisons that kills honeybees.
That's true.
So now we're moving backward. We're moving backward. That limitation was already in place to say stop using that extremely toxic poison that's killing the pollinators.
That's true.
And that shows that they actually want to kill the pollinators. Now think about it. Why would they want to kill the pollinators? The only reason that we've been able to come up with is that there's a wish to control the global food supply.
That's true.
So think about it. Why would there be a wish to control the global food supply?
If I wanted to create a more controllable populace.
It's going to be an illusion of control. What it's going to do is trigger catastrophe.
That's true.
Somebody asked why that is. Because people act crazy when they feel their backs are up against the walls. People already act crazy.
That's true.
When they feel their backs are up against the walls, they'll act even more crazy.
That's true.
It'll be a frenzy of my problems are the worst. That never turns out well for anybody. And next we've got anarchy.
That's
and
true.
we see it in levels less dense than this level and levels more dense than this level. We see anarchy and skies on fire up there in the dream worlds.
That's true.
And anarchy and skies on fire down there in the depths.
That's true.
It's edging in on this dimension, and so to expect it to come and to begin to make our peace with our Maker, so that when the time comes that we're not afraid to exit. It's okay to die. It's okay to die. We're all going to die. That's the one guaranteed facet of living.
That's
and
true.
to come to terms with it. And that way we don't act crazy, and that way we don't accrue a big pile of bad karma on our last day before we have to account for ourselves, which can happen when we're feeling that our problems are the worst and we're pushing and shoving to not die. Right
That's
there
true.
at the very end, we accrue an enormous pile of bad karma. That's a mistake. Let's not do that.
That's true.
We can do better. This doesn't, somebody's asking about the timing, and there's absolutely nothing for scale. We see the road and it goes directly to the dead city,
Yeah.
but there's nothing whatsoever for scale.
That's true.
We can't see it. It's either an extremely large catastrophe that's at some distance, or it's a big catastrophe right in front of us.
That's true.
Those are the two options.
They're talking about Atlantis again.
Mm-hmm. Well, then they're turned backwards again. Friends,
That's what that feeling
friends.
is.
That's backward. That happened quite some time ago. Really quite some time ago. There's no
That's true.
point in looking at the fall of Atlantis.
That's true.
It's over. It's over. This fall is already in play. It's already happening.
That's true.
It is happening.
Oh, turn back around.
What now to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs?
jobs.
What now to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs? What now to help well-intentioned guardian angels keep their eyes open and look at the disaster? Just really look at it. And these eyes, when the presences from other dimensions are looking through these eyes and they want to close the eyes, they want to close them at tiny little things,
That's
tiny
true.
little things they don't want to look at. Why do you ask? And for whom is the message? We're actually, as a collective, this is a most sincere inquiry. How can we be of service to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs? We just now pump up refugees from the depths, from the disasters of the depths, up through us, up through the disasters above us, as close to the highest presences we can connect with right now, who really want to help well-intentioned guardian angels do their jobs, as we're able to get to, because they're not answering the question. I can
That's
feel
true.
the hearts beating, and so I know that if they were speaking, we could hear them.
That's true.
They don't know what to say. I see pockets turned out, empty
That's
pockets,
true.
like, I got nothing, I don't know. Call a spade a spade. That's what we've got to do. Friends, we've all got to start using accurate labeling.
That's
And
true.
in order to do that, it's incumbent upon each of us to live outside of society, because society itself is a compelling illusion of continuity, and the continuity is already unraveling. It is.
That's true.
What now to call a spade a spade? What now to call a spade a spade? Friends, these thumbs are still working. They're still working. They're not working well, but they are working. We've got to look at the collapse. We've got to actually look at it. The collapse that is coming, that has begun, that is underway, to actually focus on it, to see it for what it is.